Welcome, female founders. Today we are talking to Georgia St. John Smith. She is somebody with a formidable following on LinkedIn. She certainly knows her way around LinkedIn, but actually in the conversation we touch into some subjects that are quite profound and profoundly moving. We talk about risk, we talk about trust, we talk about being your true self and aligning your business with your true self in order to achieve really substantial success.
She will lighten your heart and light your path. Literally, she tells us about how she was comfortable in school to make things and sell them. That was her first entrepreneurial experience, and you know we love those around here. For all of us, no matter what stage, we've got our experiences in the past, and then we've got things happening in the future. But it's nice to really ground ourselves in, like, where are we, and just take our time and find what feels so good for us. You're going to love this episode. Don't forget to like and follow, and also share it with a colleague or a female founder in one of your networking groups to spread the word of Women Who Lead and Sell, and also to share all of this brilliant skill and just expertise, but also heart, soul and passion that Georgia tells us about.
And bring your fairy wings. You'll have to listen to the episode to understand what I mean by that. So, Georgia, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on Women Who Lead and Sell. I love the pink, by the way. It's such a lovely pop of colour in the back there, and you look really fresh and posy like. So, I don't know if that's the branding or something, but you're the living epitome of freshness. So I love that. Thank you for coming on. Yeah. My first question to you really is I want to try and dig into your journey a bit. It's a question we ask a lot of our guests, which is, can you remember your first entrepreneurial experience? When was that? How old were you? What did you do?
Oh, what an amazing question, because I actually have quite a few that stand out. And when I look back at them, I'm like, oh, wow. So I remember being at primary school. And so for anyone in the US, that would have been like, I don't even know what age, but I was like year 5, 6. And I painted nails. I had this nail kit, and it allowed you to create designs on it. And I'd create like the Union Jack on my nails, and I'd go into school and everyone would be like, oh my gosh, your nails. And I'd be like, yeah, I did it myself. And it was like unheard of back then. It was like, wow, oh my God, these patterns on your nails. And so, yeah, I was charging like £5 per set for people to get their nails done. And it did really well. Yeah, I earned a lot of money back then. £5 was worth more than it is now. This was back when Freddos were 5p. So really did well with that.
Freddos being 5p. Hang on, that's a whole other episode. Take me there. I'm really joking. I love that. You just seem so, you're like, yeah, £5. Look at my nails. I'm like, you had the whole swagger then. I love it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
For some reason, there was no lack of confidence in that department. Like, I was less confident in friendships and putting myself out there. But when it came to anything like, oh, I can do this for you and get paid, for some reason, I was very comfortable with that.
Ooh.
And then I remember my mum starting to order wholesale jewelry, and we'd go to these craft fairs and sell jewelry, and I'd be at this stall and I'd be like, oh, that one would look good on you, and doing all of these things. And then my most significant one was actually when I was at university and I was studying economics, was very interested to go into politics, but I also knew deep down I would always start my own business at some point. And this is something that I did, I think, by accident. I had no idea what I was doing when I did it. And I was a part of the university cheerleading team, and we had no money. And I was like, why do we have no money? Like, the football guys are buying everyone drinks at the club, but with their money that they get from the university. And we literally haven't got money to like rent mats out, because we need mats. Otherwise we'll hurt ourselves when we fall, because we will fall in cheerleading. And that's when I created this new role. They had all these committee members. And to be honest, I wanted to be a committee member. I wasn't good enough to be captain or anything like that. So I decided I'd be head of fundraising. I was like, look, why is there not a role to make money? Like, why does that not exist? There was treasurer that counted the money, but no fundraiser. So I was like, that's what I'll do.
Oh, I
And then
love this so much.
I kind of like floated it around. I was like, right, how are we making money so far? What are you guys doing? They were like, oh, we'll do a bake sale. I was like, how much do you make from that? They were like, 200 quid. I was like, that's not going to do it. We're going to need to do something different here. And that's when I came up with the idea of doing a naked calendar.
Oh,
And I really wanted to do it in a way that was very like classy and iconic. So before you know it, we're going around the whole of Oxford. We've got the skyline in the background. We're on double-decker buses, like having the time of our lives, and we're launching this calendar. And when I did that, I didn't realize what I was doing, but the whole university knew about it. But not only that, nationally it was known. We
I
were on
remember
TV.
this.
You remember?
I think I remember this. Amazing.
Yeah, it was wild. And we like won best calendar of the year from all these like competitions that I didn't even know existed. And I remember them interviewing me and I was like, yeah, it feels great to win before we've even launched our calendar. And it was because I just built up so much hype for it. And I was sharing like behind the scenes and on social media. And we had this whole launch party. We didn't pay a penny for printing because I'd got sponsorships and we just made loads of money. And that was probably the biggest example that really changed my life, because I really saw, oh wow, you can really create something from nothing and it's easy.
Easy for you, maybe.
In inverted commas.
that went really quiet then, didn't it? You went, and I went,
You were like,
what's the next
I'm
bit?
glad you said it in inverted commas. What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Tell me more. What
Say
do you
more.
really
I
mean?
have this deep-rooted belief that it's easier to go for it than not.
Uh-huh.
And that was a really strong example of me just going for it. And it was hard. We even had like issues. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say around it. I think I can say stuff, but we had issues around like legalities of the photos. And like before you know it, like I'm at university and this like photographer is trying to like threaten me that we are not allowed to use these images. And I was like, what? I didn't even know. And so I learned really quickly to make friends with the legal people at my university.
Right.
And they helped me like draw up contracts and do all these things. So it was definitely hard. And I was like, I can't believe this. But at the same time, it was easier than not going for it. And I really bring that into my business today as well. And I say to myself, whenever I'm doing a launch, whenever I'm bringing something new forward, whenever I'm wanting to hit a goal within my business, it's easier for me to go full throttle than not, because if I don't, I feel so uncomfortable within myself knowing that there's unfulfilled potential there. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this and they mistake it for anxiety. And actually what I've learned is sometimes I can tap into that feeling and think, no, this is a desire to create and I'm not creating, and that's why it doesn't feel good.
Yes, I wholeheartedly
I always
agree.
say that,
Yes.
entrepreneurialism, once it's in your blood, that's why I always ask that question about when did it start? Because it's almost like crack cocaine. You get that taste of, oh, I created something of value and got paid for it. And you either get bitten by the bug, so to speak, or you don't. And it's always unfinished business. It's always about what am I creating? What's it going to be? And then you may fail, and then you may think, oh, I need a break. And then you're like, that thing is still bugging you in the background. No, you're not finished yet. Get out there and do the next thing. And that's what you're saying is when you ignore that, you're paying a price for it. And it's just easier to go, oh, okay, I'm going to surrender. Let me do the next thing. And it may fail, but what the hey, So
Yeah.
that's really amazing. So that brings us to, I can see now where that gives me a bit of a fuller picture of where you are now. So explain where you are now. What is your business now? What do you do? What's this turned into?
Yeah, so I have two businesses. I have Sancti, which is my business mentorship and retreat company, where I actually started that from really getting into the wellness industry, hosting loads of retreats. And then everyone was like, wait, how did you do that? How did you just quit your job and start all of this? So I started to teach people. In that process, I got really good at LinkedIn marketing. And so I have another company called Viral Soul, and Viral Soul is an agency that creates personal brands and blows up personal brands on LinkedIn, but it's very specific to people who really have a mission and a purpose behind their business and want to do it in a bit of a spicier, bold, standout way. And so that's what we do at Viral Soul, and hence the name. It's like, you're not just going to go viral. It's actually, to be honest, it's not really about going viral. We can't promise that that will happen, but actually we don't want to rule that out either. But it's also that like connection with your soul and going viral in the hearts and souls of the right people as well.
If you're listening to this podcast, you're interested in hearing other people talk about the questions you want to ask about growing your business, and we have the space for you. We have something for you in that regard. Kelly?
Yeah, we've set up something called the Future Room that's filled with female founders who are asking the same questions as you. It's a safe, non-judgmental space where we can really just like talk about what's going on for us in good company with women who want to grow. So come along and join us. It's on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is an area a lot of people are looking at now, particularly female founders. And I personally found it very boring when I was on it, and I just used it as a glorified business card. Found it rather dull. And I think that is the experience of a lot of female founders. But what I do perceive about it is there is a movement over to it. And I don't know whether it's because it's the antithesis of the noisiness of the other social media challenges, or whether it's because people feel safer. I know that's my experience. I just think it's more professional, seems a little bit more controlled. I like it for that. What's your view on that, and why do you think people are now, what is the opportunity of LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, it is more professional, it is more controlled. I always think to myself, why do social media companies not make you verify your ID against your social media? We wouldn't have all these problems that we have on other platforms, whereas LinkedIn, it really does take that seriously, and it is a professional platform. And don't get me wrong, there's some very interesting people on LinkedIn, as there are in the world. But what I will say is, yeah, it is a more professional platform. And I just find it so fascinating, like just listening to you and listening to your experience of LinkedIn, because it's just so different to my experience. I think sometimes I really do forget how that experience could be like, because I'm so fired up about what we're doing that I forget that other people's feeds can be lousy and lame and pale. But it's that's actually the majority of the platform. What we're doing is probably like the tiny minority of the platform, but it's also what makes it really powerful, I believe. And so I think a lot of entrepreneurs are taking LinkedIn seriously, one, because they're seeing, oh, you can grow a really strong personal brand there, and two, because it makes money.
I'm totally in alignment with you. I think there's a massive opportunity on LinkedIn, and most people just are not plumbing that. They're not mining that gold mine. For me, I totally agree with you. So I'm really interested in hearing what it is you have to say about that in particular, about what is it? What is the opportunity to literally make money on LinkedIn? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, and I loved what you said about mining for gold. Because I always say this to people. I say, you're sitting on a gold mine, but it's a gold mine. It's not just going to magically appear in front of you like a leprechaun at the end of a rainbow. You're going to have to go out there and go get it, but it's there for you if you want it. And I think this is like growing on any social media platform. And I think this is why I love LinkedIn, actually, because I think it's just, for me, like that's where I learned social media, was LinkedIn, like hooks and the body of the content and storytelling and calls to action and engagement and selling in the DMs. Like I learned all of that primarily on LinkedIn. I love that because it's a written platform. So for me, I've always loved writing. And so to see things very clearly for me is like, it's black and white. But what I will say is, like with anywhere you're going to go, with anything in business, you get what you give. And so for me, I actually stumbled across one of my own posts the other day. I was like, oh, it's a really good post. And I was talking about how like I never like tried to monetize LinkedIn at the first front when I first started posting on LinkedIn. And what I mean by that is, yes, I was growing my business, but LinkedIn as a platform, I wasn't trying to get anything from it. I was just showcasing my journey as a new entrepreneur and what I was doing and giving value as much as I could. And I think that's really underestimated as people go on and they try and say, hey, I'm this person. This is how great I am. This is what I do. Please, can you buy from me? And it's just, in my opinion, the wrong approach. You want to go out there and just, it's a beautiful opportunity to remind yourself, oh, damn, like this is what I'm here to do, when you can really connect. And this is why what we do at Viral Soul is so in the soul, because it's like, oh, like this is what I'm here to do. And those were the posts when I first started posting on LinkedIn that would do really well. I would write this post saying, I'm on a mission to change the corporate landscape. And I'd write this whole post about my values and these kind of like out there ideas back then on such a corporate platform with all these corporate connections that I had from recruitment. That's what I did previously. It was very like, what is she talking about? But I like that, actually. Yeah. Why don't we have more soul in business? Like, why don't we let ourselves be a little bit more free? And then I just became a very strong walking embodiment of that. So it became very easy for me to write content because I had so many stories. And I think a lot of the time, if you're struggling, this is for anyone who's listening to this who struggles to think of what to write on LinkedIn, go and get some stories, go do something, go speak to a stranger, go do something crazy, because then you're going to have some really good stories to talk about.
And when was this? When did you first start your journey on LinkedIn? What year was that?
I would say I started posting here and there, not committed, 2021. I'd just post, hello, I'm doing this business, a few posts about my values, nothing committal like that. It was summer 2022 that I committed to LinkedIn. And I committed to posting originally 3 times a week. And that's when I really started to see things grow and grow very quickly. And I actually had some help when I very first started from some copywriters who were really at the beginning of like the LinkedIn craze. And so they were helping me. And I remember speaking to them and they said to me, Georgia, we're going to blow you up on LinkedIn. Like, watch this. And I said, why? And they said, because you've got such a good story. And now this is the sort of thing that I say to people. And then I realized, and they just taught me the ropes basically. And I'm so grateful for that. I started to find my own way. I started to take the structures and the frameworks that they'd given me and kind of like chop them around and like throw them in the bin and then do something different and experiment and bring things from other social platforms onto LinkedIn. And that's when I really started to see things go crazy, because people had never seen it before. And I was just doing something insane, the kind of things that you hadn't heard on LinkedIn before.
Yeah. Give me an example. What sort of things can you tell us?
Yeah, the one that's just sticking out in my mind right now is I wrote this post about saying how like the worst thing I could have done in my early 20s was buy a house. And most people think that's the best thing you could do. And I was saying how it was the worst. And I was so behind it and so strong with that. I was saying things like mortgage equals death, like, because that's like the etymology of the word. And as much as like, and I'm so behind that still now, because I was sharing my story about how in my early 20s, I wanted to start a business. And that business would be able to take me wherever I want and buy however many houses I want for the rest of my life. But I needed to start off allowing myself to do that and some kind of cash rather than tying myself up in a mortgage and a house.
Obviously, you're of a generation that we're not, right? I'm 64, you're
47.
47. So we've got several generations here in this
Yeah.
conversation. It's interesting, isn't it? What do you think in terms of business, in the sense that we're used to slow business, we're used to business in the analog world, out there in the real world. You guys are very used to business online. And there's pros and cons. Like the pro is it's so easy, low barrier to entry, but that can create its own problem because you get a lot of people online who've got these amazing ideas, but they don't really understand the basics of business even, i.e. you take something, you add value, you make it profit on it, and you rinse and repeat. And that's clearly stuff you learn out there in the analog world with your mother and your nails. Do you see that a lot? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd actually agree with you, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of people get caught up in trying to play the algorithm or play the social media game. Like, if I could just go viral, then what do? They go viral and nothing happens. They haven't made any more money. It's because they don't know how to make money. It's like, I think there's two big skills you really want to have in business. And one of them is to attract people to you, attraction-based marketing, the kind of stuff that I do on LinkedIn. And another one is to close a deal and to add value, because that's how you're going to have repeat customers and build a community and a loyal community who stay with you again and again and again. And actually, if you look at the most successful businesses, like, they have always got repeat customers and repeat clients, and that's because they deliver something of real value. And I think that's something that actually so ironically gets missed, especially in the online services space, where people think, but people should buy from me. Like, I know I'm good at what I do. Okay, you're good at what you do, but like, do people love it? Are they raving about what you do? Are they getting like the best results? Because if they are, you can shout about it and you'll get more clients. But if not, then we want to work on that.
Mm. So what does that look like in your world when you're dealing with somebody like that? What does working on that look like?
Giving yourself a moment to often come back to, why are you doing this, and what is the value that you add, and how can we make an incredible offer? And this is often all it is. Sometimes it's a case of reworking the offer, and sometimes, someone has to go off and find that. Like, I can't find that for you. If you have a business, great, I can work with you. But if you're trying to make me create a business for you, it's not going to happen. Like, we can rework offers and make them work much better and add more value to those offers. Like, a lot of the time, maybe my clients will work online with people and I'll say, okay, so I'll give you an example. One of my clients, she's a public speaking coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so she helps people to speak on stage and to make money out of that, which is really fun. And we just build out her offers. And, we were talking about one of her offers specifically for this specific speaking gig. There's going to be a lot of speakers. And I said to her, like, why don't you go in person with them? Like, don't you think that would be better? And she was like, actually, yeah. And then so we added this in-person experience, as well as the calls, as well as the Telegram chat. And then I said, but what if we film that? Like, what if you were to film them preparing for the speech? Like, these are all online entrepreneurs, like, getting behind the scenes B-roll is fantastic. And then, like, speaker reels, like, what if you help them to create a whole speaker reel? And then that's an incredible bonus you can add on, that's going to take someone from saying, yeah, I want to work on my keynote speech, to, hot damn, okay, I'm in, like, take my money.
That's so interesting. I just want to unpack a couple of things you said there. One is you talked about value, which is a bit of something that we're often talking about between us, whether it's people not understanding how to value themselves, or not even knowing how to package up value, or not knowing how to message about value. That often comes up with the female founders we talk to. I think there's a lot of content out there and focus on content without really thinking about value.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me about, let's say I'm a female founder and I'm definitely good at something, right? I have a superpower. We talk about superpowers with our female founders, but I'm really unclear about how to value it, let alone how to talk about it. How do you tease that out of a female founder? What's your theory on that?
You've really got to pick your position.
Mm.
That's what it is. It
When you
doesn't
say
really
position,
matter.
what do you mean about that? Like, where are you aiming for? Luxury market, not luxury? Do you mean like that?
Pretty much, yeah. But it's really got to be aligned. And this is something that I've realized, and this is why it's such a huge part of the viral soul marketing method that we do, is that alignment and the articulation. Because if you can't align what is so true to you, how you deliver, and then you're able to articulate what you do so clearly in the value, we can't do anything else. So it's a really first part. So I love the fact that you've asked this question. And what I will say is, like, pick your position is like, back when I did, I started retreats, I was like, right, okay, like, who am I going to do these retreats for? And first of all, of course, guess who I wanted to help? Everyone. I wanted everyone to go on a retreat. And I thought it was the best thing ever. And why wouldn't you want to? And why can't I go straight for mass market, And then I remember actually someone telling me this theory around a tree, and how you have to start by like making your roots really deep first and have a narrow tree trunk, and then you can branch out. And sometimes that narrow tree trunk is for years and years and years and years before you branch out into all these different markets. And that was probably one of the most valuable pieces of advice I ever heard. So I started off my retreats and I was like, oh, I want to go luxury retreats. And so, oh, who would be my ideal client? CEOs. So I did luxury retreats for CEOs. And then I realized I don't like these CEOs. This is not a vibe. Like, I don't want to spend time with them, let alone do a whole retreat with them.
They're
This
not
is
my
hard.
vibe. Yeah, I'd probably be fine with them, but
Honestly, I'm listening to you, and then I'm like checking. I've got this checklist of like all the things I realized. I'm like, this is not a vibe. This is definitely not how I'm going to spend my life. I don't care how much I'm getting paid. Like, I love it.
Hysterical. That's
really,
brilliant that you
I think
found
I'm
that,
like
though.
revisiting and healing some of my decisions and things. Literally listening to you. Please carry on.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool.
It's really nice.
Yeah. Because I think as well, like sometimes when it comes, that's why I said pick your position, because sometimes you just got to pick, go for it and realize you don't like it. And so that's, I think, been one of my superpowers. And that's why I'm so clear and happy with my position now, is because I've picked some rubbish positions before and I didn't like them. And so that really taught me, we can't go on like this. I can't keep doing this. Something's going to have to change. And so at some point along the line, I decided I wanted to work with female founders. And then that still wasn't it. And then I was like, right, female founders who care about what they do. And then that still wasn't it. Female founders who care about what they do and they want to make millions. Nah, that sticks. Because then that really matched up with my ambitious nature as well.
Yes.
And it brings together that soul piece and the viral. You want to be visible, you want to be famous for your work, but you also want to make sure it's always connected to you and what you're really doing here. You know, sometimes you can fall off track, but you've got this massive vision. So that's really how I found mine. And it took, I would say, a number of years. It took me like 3-4 years. I landed on it, I think, in year 4, and then everyone was like, yes, you're doing it. And I was like, yeah.
So it wasn't so much an age group, but it was more an intention.
I'm going to chip in a bit here, just because it hit me when you were speaking, and I think this is so important. Our listeners, so some of them are still in corporate. I think like you are, like I was, still in corporate, have ideas. Often they're using their entrepreneurial skills and their initiatives, and they're embedding them in their organizations, but they're not getting the acknowledgement, and they're certainly not getting paid, you know, when they're just bringing genius into that organization. So some of our listeners are those people like waiting to take those steps. And then some are established founders who are learning actually to refine, or going through that process of like, how this is doing well, but why does it feel so ick? Like, why does this feels heavy? And they're not really understanding what to do. So my kind of story, just to match you, because you're sharing so generously, and thank you for that. Like, I can hear like so many insights, is I've run businesses since I was very young, and more in domestic and commercial cleaning, and then in marketing agency when I lived in Australia. And the massive thing for me was always to hit 7 figures. I don't know where it came from. I think I probably got caught up in the entrepreneurial machine. You know, Dale Carnegie back in the day. I don't even know if you'll know these people, but I'd been brought up, you know, cold calling through uni, and I loved it, setting up communities everywhere. There's an organization, a global organization, is a brilliant organization called Entrepreneurs Organization. But it was like this place to be in Australia when I lived there. And you had to qualify, you had to have 1 million to get in it. And I'm sure that's why I got to the first million, because I'm just like, I want to be in there. I was there for 18 months. I was a partnership, you know, on the board, and I was right in there. Like I'm one of the people. And honestly, it was it brought so much illness, because I listened to the stuff that people were saying outside of our work days and our retreats, and they were just all miserable. They were miserable, and they were sad, and they were CEOs, but of their own organizations. You're talking, you know, double 7-figure businesses and stuff. But and it was a wake up call for me, but it was a slow realization. Yours seems to be much quicker. Like, I don't like this, chop. It was like hitting up against the reality of this massive dream that I've had, that I've worked so hard to build, the reality is people are really not very conscious, and they're not very holistic. And I was very spiritual very early on. So but that was still emerging in my business life. So it took me a while to be able to go, I don't need to belong in these communities, or I'd have this status to actually be worthy of, my own acknowledgement. So it was a real peeling back some layers to define what authentic, feel good success felt like for me. And then it's been a journey for me then to recreate businesses that have what I term really healthy, feel good consciousness, and being able to make money. But it's like you said, you try that. Oh, that's not it. You try that. That's not it. And mine's definitely sped up quick. So yeah, I just wanted to meet you in your story, because I think when you can be in business, you talk about this, your first couple of businesses sometimes are there to teach you. I always say, one of my favorite, it should be a tattoo actually, is life will give you what you need, not what you want. You go out and you're like, I'm having it, I'm doing it. And you can assemble and you can do well. And then you're like, why does this all feel so shit? Why is all this stuff going wrong? Or the people I'm working with, or the mismatched expectations, or no boundaries. Well, yeah, the whole life journey is teaching you what you need to realize to move into your fullest expression. So it's so nice to hear it from your side as well.
Yeah, and I would just add, I pulled a quote off that you said, which just made me laugh, which is, they said, be professional. I wore fairy wings and made 5 figures.
We were
I
laughing
was
about that earlier. We were like,
cackling at
oh,
that.
who is she? Let's get her in
I
here.
was cackling at that because I just thought, yeah, there she is on LinkedIn with her fairy wings on, going, come on, everyone, you can do it. Come make some money with me. So I was like, yeah, we need to talk to this person.
It's very cool.
I love that. And that's, for me, it's a way to alienate the people I don't want in my world as well.
Interesting.
Because
yeah,
they will see it and either scroll by, dismiss it, tut, whatever, or love it. And so it's a strategic thing as well to do something like that.
Yeah. I mean, because there is so much noise out there, and I call it digital plastic. And I think there's a danger with AI that you've just got this sameness, and you can tell when someone's generated something from AI. And, we all use, I'm not dismissing AI. I think it's an amazing tool, but there is this huge pitfall that I warn female founders about, you're diluting yourself if you're not careful. We all want to fit in, don't we, really, as people? I think we want to fit in. So how do you get your female founders to kind of take more risks? Because it sounds to me like it's almost taking a bit of a risk because you're being maybe a bit controversial or contrarian, or how does that land with some of the people that you work with?
Well, I love that you're talking about risk, because it's what I decided would be one of my values a few years ago. And I really value risk. And they do say within business, if you're not upsetting some people, if you're not being controversial, then you're not doing a good job. So I think there's definitely that. And I think the reason why with my clients, I can really support them through that process, because it can be very confronting at times on the personal side. I mean, within my mastermind Sanctify that I run, we have a soul call once a month. And that really is every female founder comes on and is like, I'm feeling this kind of way. This is coming up. And it's so raw and it's so vulnerable. It's the things that you just don't usually admit, maybe, but you feel kind of safe to say it in this space. And then I'm just very guard down with them as well. And I'm like, yeah, let me tell you about this time where that happened to me and it didn't feel good. And then I went through this challenge. And I think, within mentorship, if you're going to be a mentor, if you're going to lead people, women who lead, if you're going to guide people, then you've got to have done it yourself and be willing to do that yourself. And so for me, I think if I'm feeling too comfortable, something's off. And we're not in the growth zone, we're in the comfort zone. So I think I've trained my brain, because I've got results from being a bit edgy and a bit outside of the box. And so I think my brain, my nervous system, my subconscious has learned, okay, I'm uncomfortable, but it feels right. I'm behind it. And even though I feel kind of sick, like, let's go, because it's going to be good for us. And so I think it's just building up that muscle. And the more you do it, the better you get. And what I will say with AI, like a really tangible thing that I use it for, and that I would say is probably the best thing women can use it for within your businesses, is to brag, and to help you brag a bit more.
I love
Because
that.
it can be so hard to brag. And I think women especially, like, we want to be like 3000% like behind something, have done it like so well 3 million times before we like say, oh yeah, I did that thing. And so that's really helped me, is I will say to AI, like, help me brag about my experience, like help me make a big deal about this, and that's where it really helps me. But what I won't do is let it write whole things for me. And if I see copy, maybe, like, bless her, like one of my like VAs, team members, like, had written this thing using AI, and I looked at it and I was like, I actually feel sick, because it's just so blaringly obvious to me. I don't think everyone would notice, but I think when you're really in it and you use these tools and you see other people's content, it does become very, very obvious. And so I wouldn't use it necessarily to write things for me, but it's
So
an
clear.
amazing tool to brag. Yeah.
Please, can I jump in here?
Yeah,
Something
just
like a
redid
real
that thing.
burning question. What countries have you lived in, or where have you spent a lot of time?
I spent 4 years living in Ibiza, and I spent quite a bit of time in Bali. I spent quite a bit of time in Costa Rica,
Yeah.
and also in Morocco.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for clarifying. When you shared about bragging, what instantly came to me is one still where I'm still working with my own embodiment on that, and I've learned to reframe. Like, I'm okay when I don't go into bragging. Right, there's just something that my nervous system just doesn't like about that. But the women that I've worked with around the world, and I'm lucky enough now to call friends, through business where I've lived in different countries. What I'd love to know from you is, because you've been in these different cultures, and you have women's circles and things like that. What have you noticed about different cultures and their ability to, like, show off, like, be, I want to say, like, wild abandon, like, this is who I am, because that's how you do occur to me. Like, there's a real radiance, and like a tender radiance to how you show up, which I think in the world of performance, it's like gravitas and this and that, but we're not talking about that. Actually, we're talking about an inner radiance that you have. And I just wonder what you've noticed about women from different cultures, or what you've picked up. I know that's a bit of a, like, constellation of questions there, but I'd love to just hear what you have to share with our founders about that.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you, because it really means the world to me. It means a lot to me, because it just makes me feel like, oh, I'm in alignment. Like, that feels really
Yeah.
good. And it's taken a lot to embody that. What I would say is, like, Ibiza, first and foremost, really allowed me to find who I am. And I remember when I first moved there, I was not spiritual by any means. I didn't know what the heck was. I went to a yoga teacher training, and she said, who here identifies with being spiritual? And I was like, what does that mean? I had no idea. And there was this girl who had tarot cards, and I was like, what are they? And it really just really interested me and opened up my eyes. And so when I moved to Ibiza, I'd kind of been exposed to that, but very fresh. And I got myself into the yoga community. And for anyone who doesn't know, there's a massive spiritual community in Ibiza. And I just dove in head first. And so I'm in these yurts. I'm like doing all these things,
Yeah.
whatever I can get my hands on, like, I want to learn about, like, spirituality. And what happened to me when I first moved there is, people would come up to me and they would say, you are light. And I was,
Yeah.
and like, people would like look at me sometimes, and I'd be like, it's like it was like odd. And it's something that I just heard so many times, and started to pull in cards, that I started to realize, oh, it feels like my purpose to be a light in the world.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of people's purposes, actually.
Yeah.
Less so to have to achieve XYZ, more so just to be who you are. It sounds so simple, but like, imagine if you're just free and fully expressed, and just be who you are, the things that you could do. And what I've learned from different cultures is, you know what? We're not as different as we think we are at the core as human beings.
Mm.
But I have spent a lot of time in places that allow me to feel free. It was interesting going to Morocco, actually. I think that's the place I've recently spent about 7 months in Morocco.
Okay.
And that was very different to everything that I was used to. You know, I'm used to like being in Ibiza, like skinny dipping, you know, like not thinking anything of it. I'm a mermaid on a rock and it's so normalized there.
Yes.
Costa Rica, still, you know, not quite the same, but still got that vibe to it. Bali. And then going to Morocco, it was so different. I was like, wow, okay, I'm dressing very differently, you know. I dressed so differently in Morocco. And but I still realized at the core, like as humans, like, Morocco just felt like such a gift to me. And I feel like people listening to this, some of you need to go. and and it just gave me this, the people that have such kindness in their hearts. And it was just so breathtakingly beautiful to be able to connect with the rawness of humans. And that's what I really loved about Morocco is I think a lot of the time you're talking about this like ability to radiate and to shine. And I think a lot of the time we really do have all these things going on constantly, whether that's social media or, to be honest with you, when you walk out in the street. But Morocco, can you just imagine, like half their buildings haven't been built yet. Like there's so much space, everything's dust, rubble. You know, some things are built, but not everything. And you know, people really are like going to the bakery every morning to get their bread and paying in cash. And something so simple as that I would do every single day, go to the market every week, you know, pick up all my things, my vegetables and fruit from the floor and give it to this guy to weigh, to tell me it's like £4 for this massive shop. And I was like, this is crazy. But it really grounded me, Morocco did. And I think gave me the confidence to bring all of that light airiness from Ibiza and all these different places into the roots and into the ground and really solidify that.
Yeah.
But what I would say, like in terms of, I think you were kind of asking about that. It kind of came up from the bragging question.
Yeah.
And I think with that, it's people aren't gonna like it. And sometimes people who you're really close to, and often it's we don't brag because it doesn't feel safe. And so it's like best not to. And actually sometimes it's not safe. So especially for women. So it's something to have discernment around, but there's definitely opportunities to do it. And I think the more you practice, people will start falling away. And so I've been really shown that. And some people who I thought would be my best friends forever, you know, suddenly they don't like me anymore and I'm triggering them. And so that's something that I think is a part of that process and being okay with it. But also there's always going to be those people who still really love you to your core and actually are like, wow, you're being more you than ever. And they're going to cheerlead you. So I think it's so valuable to have places like Women Who Lead in the community you're building where that's going to be really accepted. So thank you for your work.
I love what you said there. I have 4 daughters. My youngest is 25. My oldest is just about to turn 40. And one of the things I say to particularly my youngest is when you shine really brightly, some people will be repelled by that. Don't allow them to bring you down to their level just so they feel comfortable. They're just not right for you. They're just not in alignment with you. You need to find the people who can bask in your light and be okay with that. You know, and I think female founders is if I was to sort of translate that into business, very often you come up with an idea and you share it. And I think one of our guests said it the other day. She said, yeah, it's really good to get feedback. It was Susie, actually. She said, yeah, it's great to get feedback, but be responsible about who you're getting your feedback from.
Yeah.
Because if you do it with the wrong person, they could kill something that could actually blossom into something really amazing. So I think what I'm hearing from you is I'm hearing about take risk, do it with discernment, be out there, align with your soul, Find like-minded communities. I'm definitely hearing from you. And I'm interested in how you've created a community where people feel safe to be themselves. Tell us about that.
God, that's the thing that I'm most proud of and that really like warms my soul. I honestly think just by showing up and communicating all of this and inviting women into my spaces and saying to them, like, I've hosted like so many free challenges and experiences, as well as like low ticket offers that have allowed people to really just experience that community. You know, this summer I did a challenge called Hot Growth Summer, and it was a 30-day challenge to grow on LinkedIn, but also to grow your soul. And so it really attracted in those kind of women who, you know, wanted to say something a bit different on LinkedIn and maybe they were scared.
I'm
And
sorry, I
it kind
missed
of brought
that.
all these things.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, we'll do it next year.
Let me
You'll
know.
be there.
I'll be there.
And it was amazing. There was hundreds of women in this group all posting these contrarian posts on LinkedIn, and we had this LinkedIn group, and all these women were posting in it, and then they were saying, wow, like, I just want to stay here forever. Like, look at all these amazing women like sharing their things. And we had like everyone from like women like helping Muslim women to increase their salaries, to women who were, you know, talking about using like sexual pleasure in your business. And it was like so like polar opposites, but all like somewhere along the way a little bit contrarian. I think the reason why that works so well is when you have such a strong vision for what you want to create and you communicate that vision and you say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how it's going to work. I think it's like, for me, whenever I've had any of my spaces, whether that's my higher level masterminds or the free or low ticket experiences, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm very clear on like, this is who this is for. This is what we're doing here. This is the journey you're going to go on. This is what's acceptable. This is not what's not acceptable. And if something I've communicated that I deem to be inappropriate or not acceptable, it will not be tolerated, and people will be removed from the community. I think that's also really important, to be able to do that and to be able to back yourself in like, okay, one person who may be upset or is upsetting the apple cart doesn't mean your whole vision isn't right. It's just allowing you to refine even more. And I think a lot of the time people will come up with a challenge with a client or with a community that they're building and not realize that it's allowing you to make it better and to increase the quality and the standards that you set as well, because that whole community is a reflection of you. Yeah.
Such a good distinction.
Yeah.
Something, a real thread to remember in it's every day, right? Every day the experiences are shaping you and your thinking, and it just allows everything to evolve.
Female founders who've got something that they know is of value, but they're confused about how to communicate it. What would be the first sort of baby steps you would say to them? Or even established people who've got something, but they're maybe getting it more refined. What sort of things could they be doing, even on LinkedIn, you know, to sort of make LinkedIn more of a support for them rather than it seems sometimes like a chore or I don't know what the hell I'm doing. What would you start to say to someone to put together a plan?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's always an opportunity. Like, what an amazing free opportunity you have to connect with people who could come into your communities and, you know, have the best experiences and pay you forever. Like, that's an opportunity. It's not a chore. And then second, I would say like, this is a messaging thing, articulation, messaging. So you want to really, first of all, be so clear on who it's for and how it helps them and the problems that it solves. And this is one thing that I think people really get caught up in. They think, oh, but it's for, let's give an example, corporate high achieving women. Tell me about them. What are they like? Are they active? What are they doing in their day? What are their problems? How'd they wake up in the morning? Like, just knowing these things about your dream client is going to be really important, because it can be one thing. I mean, you could say, dear corporate high achieving women, and some people could really resonate with it. And it could be one step, which is good. But if we want to take it even further into like more advanced articulation, you want to be really speaking to that woman and saying, hey, like, I see where you are. Like, you're so ambitious. You have all of these dreams to start your business. You work on the weekends. on your business. It's actually your favorite hobby, which most people think is weird, but for you, that's normal. Suddenly we're speaking to someone and they're starting to say, yes, that's me, I'm doing that. And that's a really powerful part of messaging, because you can resonate with your community and people who are watching that don't even see you. That's something huge with any platform, but LinkedIn especially. People are watching you. Like, don't judge yourself, don't judge this community. Like, people are watching you. You know, one of my clients, she signed a 6-figure deal last week, and when she did, she messaged in the group, she was like, yeah, it's true, they hadn't even liked any of my posts, they haven't even commented on any of my posts, but they'd seen them and it deeply resonated, so they sent me a message. And this is a really important thing to remember, is that people are always watching. So not to get too caught up in making it mean anything other than, I'm just doing what it takes to run a business, and that includes posting, and it's not a big deal. But in terms of articulating that clarity and messaging, a framework that really helps me is the you, the who, the vehicle, the vision.
Okay.
So the you, that's you. How what's your experience? What's your expertise?
Yeah.
What's your story? Why did you create this?
Mm-hmm.
The who is it for? The vehicle, how are they getting there? What kind of vehicle are they getting in? What's your method? This changed everything in my business. As soon as I started getting stronger methods, I started having much bigger launches, and it started doing really well. The vehicle, and then the vision. What's the vision? What do they want in their life? And I do not mean more peace, more happiness, even money or anything like that. Something really specific, being able to paint a picture. And a really great way, an exercise you can do is just imagine like you're walking into a room with your dream client, and it's their hell, like the worst scenario, and they're probably there already. And then you walk into another room and it's the heaven. What does that look, smell, taste, feel? Use all the senses, and then you're going to be able to really paint those two pictures and thread that into your messaging and your content.
Interesting.
So nice.
And when you say method, do you mean like a framework, Georgia? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, it could be a framework.
I mean, I hate that word because it's bandied
Yeah.
around a lot, isn't it? And you can produce a gazillion frameworks through ChatGPT, can't you?
yeah, they're not going to be the best. But I always say to people, like, no, but what is your method? And when I say that, yeah, it could be a framework for sure. It could be a formula. It could be, steps to get to a place. But the best way is to look back on the results and how those results happened. So one activity that I love to do is like my personal flywheel within my business. You know how you can have like a marketing flywheel? I created one of mine, like just for me. And so I noticed like, oh, okay, like my success comes from me being in this state, and then these things happen, and it's this flywheel that compounds over time. So I think that by tracing back your steps or other successful steps from the result you say you're going to create, that's where you find the best methods.
Yeah, and you could probably put that into ChatGPT, couldn't you? You could actually go, well, this is how I built this is how I built that, and it could be all areas of your life. Could even be your hobbies, how you make a cake, whatever. And then, because we had a guest on, Sarah, and she was talking about training horses. In fact, her first entrepreneurial experience was buying ponies, doing them up, and then selling them. It's hilarious.
What?
And it's probably no coincidence that she's married a farmer, and her son is in eventing around horses. And we were talking about how her son trains the horses. And she said, it's not too dissimilar from training anything, or even building and developing your business. It's all about building resilience and all of this. So she clearly found a pathway to getting a result. And I think we've all got our way of getting results. And what you're saying is figure out the steps, figure out how you engineer those results, no matter where they are in your life. See what the pattern is, and how could you apply that to help your dream client achieve their dream.
Exactly that.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, beautifully put.
Thank you. That's one of my superpowers. I explain stuff.
I love it.
I love it. So we love to end on a high and kind of what's next. So what I want to understand is you've come back to the UK.
Mm.
So like, why did you choose the UK? Like, I want you to like just give a quick answer on that, because what I'm really interested in is what you see the future is in the UK for women with these
Mm.
amazing visions and ideas. Like, tell us what you see and what you're going to be
Or
part
what
of.
you would
And
like to see as
yeah,
well.
Yeah, and that's something that I really want to be a part of creating. For actually, I will say, I'll be honest, life circumstances really smacked me in the face. And then I was like, yeah, okay. And so now I've got on board with the fact that actually this is me moving my life forward, and it's also me being closer physically to my community
yeah,
and creating a closer connection by being here. I remember someone reached out to me saying, wow, it's so amazing to see what you do, and you're in the UK. So a lot of women do this in the US or whatever, but no one in the UK is like really pioneering women being able to make this much money without, hiring a massive team or doing it traditionally in the way that you should do business.
yes,
And so that really stuck with me. I was like, oh, that's interesting. You like the fact that I'm from the UK. And then I thought, oh, imagine if I am in the UK. Because I think being in Ibiza, it was like I was in this like dream bubble, but often people couldn't necessarily resonate with me. And so I think it's going to really serve the business for me to be here and
yeah.
do more in-person things. And I'm hosting an event as well
Great. Tell
in
us. Tell us about it.
October.
Yeah.
Oh, do
Yeah,
tell
I'd
us.
love to have you there.
Oh,
It's
we would
Viral Soul
love to come.
Live, actually.
Viral Soul
Amazing.
Um,
Live.
We can make it
yeah,
work. We
Viral
can
Soul
make it work.
Live.
We'd love to meet you. That would
Yeah,
be
yeah,
cool.
we would love that. It's going to be incredible. I'm hosting it on the 10th of October, and that's really to bring all of these women together in person, because from hosting retreats over the years, I've hosted dozens of retreats, and the biggest breakthroughs really do happen in person,
Yes.
Mm.
because even just being in that frequency, like us being able to like look each other in the eyes, give each other a hug, like it changes everything,
Mm.
as well as pairing that with like really tangible growth strategies, the viral part of the business. So I'll be speaking on LinkedIn growth, and I've got some incredible speakers on different social platforms and how to grow your business. So it's going to be a really fun
Amazing.
event.
So good. So
Amazing.
good.
That's brilliant.
That's it. I
And
love this. It's so good.
yeah, yeah. It's not gone where I expected it to go.
Really?
No, I didn't really have
Ooh.
any expectations. I like to go in sometimes. I mean, I do my research, but it's really gone in a few places that were quite profound. There were a few things you said that really moved me, and I didn't expect that. I just thought it was going to be a nuts and
Mm.
bolts. I'm going to do quite a lot of nuts and bolts about LinkedIn, but some other stuff has come up. So it's been delightful, Georgia. Thank you so much. Really,
You're
really
so
appreciate it.
welcome.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
looking
and
forward to
thank
the
you.
episode and yeah, connecting further. Where can people find more about you? Is LinkedIn the main place? Like, tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, LinkedIn's a great place. Georgia St. John Smith. So it's
Hmm.
ST John hyphen Smith.
Hmm.
And Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
exactly the same username, but without the hyphen in there, Georgia St. John Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And my website is sancti.co.uk, SANCTI. And that's where you'll find Viral Soul Live. Oh, I'm so excited for that
Very,
event
very
as well.
exciting. So
Really
good.
cool.
Thank you so
Really
much. And
cool.
we will definitely like look forward to just meeting in person and seeing
Hopefully.
what's next.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Amazing.
Thanks,
Thank you
Georgia.
so
You're
much.
welcome.